Welcome to Go Green Radio. Today we are so excited to have Sara on with us. She is the author of a brand new book, and she's a best-selling author, so you definitely want to check this out. The book is called Moodtopia for Kids, Nurturing Emotional Wellness with Nature's Remedies. We're celebrating National Herb Day today, and Sara is going to be taking us through some of the tips and tricks that she has to help parents, to help kids become their very best. She is nationally known. She's been on all the major networks, and she's going to talk with us about this timely guide for parents who are seeking natural, effective ways to support their children's emotional well-being. And I want to welcome you to the show, Sara. Your book couldn't be more timely. So many parents are struggling to help their children thrive in a world that, frankly, is not conducive to emotional well-being. And I want to know, when you were writing Moodtopia for Kids, who did you imagine your target audience to be?
Great question, Jill, and it's an honor to be here. So, Moodtopia for Kids was written for parents, grandparents, caregivers, principals, teachers, because what's happening in this world of chaos is kids really need to do a lot of coping. They have to cope in school. They have to cope at home. Crowded cities. A lot of quite scary and overwhelming things are being spoken about. Even if people keep the news out of their home, kids are hearing it. So I have a pediatric and women's clinic for over 32 years. I help kids with ear infection, strep throat, molluscum, eczema, asthma, and more over the past 10 years, Jill. I got a lot of calls for ADD, ADHD, sadness, frustration, focus. And I really realized that parents, no matter how fantastic they are not really equipped to help navigate these kids through these emotional challenges with social media. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I don't get enough likes. So it's really an extremely complicated time.
It really is. And I want to give our audience and our friends who are watching a preview of some of the invaluable information that you, as a master herbalist, classical homeopath, and board certified lactation consultant for over 3 decades, bring to us. What are some of the basic things that parents, caregivers, educators, as you mentioned, can do to help children toward emotional well-being?
So in Mootopia for Kids, it's a book that you don't have to read front to back. You can pull out the chapters that you relate to, resonate, and identify with. So, one of my most important chapters is about botanical plant-based medicine, herbs, which have been used for thousands of years. And even though I mentioned that this world is in a place of chaos right now, kids for the past couple thousand years also dealt with puberty, toddlerhood, and all these other things. So I wanted to introduce parents and caregivers to botanical plant-based medicine. For instance, there's a wonderful herb called lemon balm. Everyone can grow it on their windowsill. You can buy it online. It's in the mint family. It has been used for generations to take the edge off of anxiety and stress, help kids calm down. There's no side effects and it's easy because it tastes delicious. So either parents can give this before they travel, if they're going on an airplane and they know that the kids are nervous and you're rushing, you have to go through security. Taking a little lemon balm as the parent or caregiver and giving some to the child will help them feel calmer. What I love about lemon balm is it's also antiviral. So kids are always getting exposed to viruses. So lemon balm can be given in tea form, although kids don't like to drink tea so much. We can make it into ice pops, ice cubes, or we can give it in what is called a tincture or liquid. And this is easy, and they come in small, little tiny bottles that you literally can stick in your pocket. And lemon balm is a great place for kids to start. First day of school, a family reunion, traveling. So I think that parents, from my experience of over 3 decades, they don't even know that these type of herbs are available to them.
They really don't. And I mean, I raised three kids. They're all adults now. This is the first I'm hearing of this. I wish that we could get together in a time machine and go back to the early 90s so that I could have your wisdom. I'm so glad that we're able to share all of this, with our friends. Now, I saw something really interesting in the book, and I again, this is the first I'm learning of it, so I'm so excited to hear what you have to say about this. But why is a child's blood type important to understanding their personality and their health?
So in America and Canada, blood typing is really not a thing. And we could do a whole show on why it's not. But I have seen over the years that there are four basic types of people, the way they function in the world, how they problem solve. And it's almost as if our maker took a cookie cutter and went A, B, O, and AB. Now, of course, males and females are going to be different. Your socioeconomic class is going to be different. But for instance, blood type O's need a very high protein diet. Blood type O's will function better as an adult or a child, high protein. So I'm going to give one story of an emotional crisis so you can begin to see. So I had this child around age 4 to 5 come to me, maybe more towards the four, and he was fantastic in school and a monster at home. So the parents were looking for ADHD medicine for at home because he'd get home, he'd beat up his two sisters, he wouldn't listen, he'd throw his food. The mother had no idea what to do. Positive affirmations wasn't working. So she was completely lost. So it turned out that this child didn't love eating breakfast. I get it. Get to school, have sugary cereal and milk. For lunch, they'd have noodles and cheese. They'd get a cup of orange juice and a couple cookies at the end of the day. Now, this boy was a blood type O. O's need 4 eggs for breakfast, salmon for lunch, chicken for dinner. So I told her, or I suggested, I don't tell anybody, she had a little double stroller with her 2 year old and this 4 year old. And when she picked him up, I said, bring chicken nuggets. She said, why? I said, he needs protein. So the first week, he threw it at his sister, threw it on the street. She called me up. I am losing money. I said, trust me. After a week and a half, he ate one chicken nugget. Then he ate the whole container. Now, chicken nuggets aren't the healthiest, we know, but we're talking about getting protein. I had her have some chicken soup or bone broth at home when he got home. And I have to tell you, after a week, he started to function better in the home. She then called the school and said, I am sorry. This is way too much starch and dairy for my child. She started sending more protein food to school, and he didn't need ADHD medicine. So this
Wow.
is an example where this child and the mother didn't even know.
Mm-mm.
Free breakfast at school, free lunch at school. Everyone's a little strapped for cash. But for this kid, he was so good by nature, Jill, that he kept it together at school. He wasn't a bad kid. He was nice to the kids. He was nice to the teacher. But inside it was like trauma, trauma, trauma. My blood sugar is going boom, 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 boom. So we know that for O's, a very high protein diet. Blood type A's don't do well with the nightshades. That's the poisonous foods. That's tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, cabbage, peppers. Blood type A's don't like poisonous people, people that say one thing and do another, and poisonous foods. So I have a lot of kids with chronic ear infections, chronic drippy nose. You know those kids that just have
Oh,
green
yeah.
schnots all on their nose all the time. And when we take out the nightshades, the fluid in the ears gets better. Who would know, Jill? I see
No.
it clinically in my office for over 32 years. I didn't know that.
That's amazing. And I think, all of our friends who are watching are going to want to get a hold of this book. I wish I'd had it at my bedstand, as a young mom. This is amazing. Now, for parents who are new to, what you call herb power, what are some of the things that they will learn in your book?
So there are so many herbs that are non-toxic, safe, easy to administer. I want to jump to an herb called skullcap. Skullcap is again also from the mint family, like lemon balm. It's for anxiety, panic, and stress. It goes into the bloodstream within 20 minutes and it can take the edge off that anxiety. Kids' first day of school, first day at camp, a new baby coming into the home. These are all naturally nerve-wracking experiences.
Sure.
Some kids handle it better than others. If your kid suffers from stress, anxiety, mom, when are we leaving? When are we leaving? When are we leaving? Going on a trip. How do we know the plane's going to take off? How do we know the plane is safe? Giving the child skull cap for the week before the travels will actually lower the cortisol level, which is our stress hormones. And then you can speak more logic to a kid. Because when a kid's in a panic state, or a tantrum state, I mean, you can't get through to them. So you can sit there and wait for it to pass, which is also a good idea. But herbs like skullcap and lemon balm, you can mix them both together and people can get mixes of herbs made specifically for kids really takes the edge off. And my clients are shocked. One more quick story. I was
Yeah.
in upstate New York. I'm from Brooklyn. There was a child. She had six kids, and they would go upstate just so the kids could run around like maniacs. And her one child, age 7, hated mosquitoes. So sat in the bungalow and refused to leave, which meant the mom couldn't leave. Week 1, week 2, the kid is not leaving. So I suggested try a little skull cap. She said, skull cap, what is it? I showed her it was safe. We started giving the child skull cap. Literally, Jill, I am not being dramatic, and you can tell I'm pretty dramatic. Within 36 hours, the little girl stood on the porch. The next day, she took a couple steps. And you know what? She went like this to move the mosquitoes, and she had the best summer. The mother gave her skull cap every day. Now, who wants to get bitten by a mosquito? They do fly in your face, but it is much more fun to ride a bike, play in a jungle gym. So, this was an example before my eyes, Jill, that this kid's fear level decreased and the child could, with that child's strength, break through those scary, terrifying mosquitoes and have a great summer.
I love that. That's a great story. We have so much more to talk about, Sarah, and I can't wait. Well, we've got to take a quick commercial break, so don't go away, folks. There's more Go Green Radio right after this. Welcome back to Go Green Radio, everybody. We are having the best time. We're celebrating National Herb Day with Sarah, and she has a brand new book out that I want you to check out on Amazon. It's called Moodtopia for kids. It's a follow-on to her best-selling book, Moodtopia, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But I'd like for you to spend just a little bit more time, Sarah, talking about ADHD and what you have seen over your 3 decades plus of work with families.
So I can't say that every child was created to sit in a classroom and follow directions. And I can't say that these poor teachers that have 25 plus kids in their classroom, all on different intellectual levels, really can handle it. We want to start with that. But a lot of people call me and say, Sarahana, my school is asking me to put my child on medicine for ADHD. It is so common. I don't have the statistics in front of me. I usually do. Jill, I had a little bit of a rough morning, but it's like 1 out of 8 kids are on ADHD medicine. And there's a huge percentage of kids on these stimulants from a very young age. One of the problems of these medicines are kids lose their appetite, Jill. So
Oh.
even if they help, we have kids from age 6 to 16 or 7 to 15 during their vital growth years, losing their appetite. So these are the years, Jill, where they need to build their muscles, their bones, their structure of their skeletal system for the rest of their life, their ligaments, their brain health. And what happens is parents put the kids, and it may help quite a bit. For some, yes, for some, no. Then they take them off Saturday, and parents are not told that they're having a drug withdrawal. Like literally, I learned with a pharmacist the chemistry of the drug withdrawal. Then on Sunday, these kids start to get their appetite back. And then, boom, Monday morning, they're back on the medicine. This is not being discussed. So, I want parents to know that herbal and homeopathic medicine can really help. If your child's doing well on the ADHD medicine, okay, great. But there's parents that are like, we've been on 5 different meds. It hasn't worked. My kid hasn't gotten better. We've done therapy. And again, you and I discussed earlier, therapy intervention talking is not going to work when a kid's not there. But herbs and homeopathy, Jill, can really help these kids. And I just wish that more parents knew that this is available to them.
Me too. And that's why we're going to promote this conversation far and wide. And actually, you know what I'm thinking about doing, Sarah? I am going to add your book, Moodtopia for Kids, to the little baskets that I like to put together for expectant moms, because this is something that every parent and every caregiver should at least know about and then make their own decisions. But not knowing about it should not be an option. We should be smart about this. And I'm so glad we have you on with us today.
Thank you, Jill. And with parents don't have a choice. You said it exactly. You got it. They can choose medicine, but they don't even know of other choices. And that's what I want parents to know about.
Yes. And, I want to talk to adults because, my heart is with children. I know yours is too. I mean, a lot of the work that my nonprofit, the Go Green Initiative, does is all about child welfare and child well-being. We try to keep toxins out of schools to protect children's health from those environmental toxins. That's our whole thing. But I think, parents know this very well. You can't pour from an empty pitcher. We have to take care of ourselves as well as adults. And your best-selling book, Moodtopia, can help. And so, in as much as I want every caregiver and parent out there to get Moodtopia for Kids, I want to talk about your first book that, was so very successful and urge folks to check it out. I would love for you to talk to us about this concept of color therapy and its benefits. I had never heard of that before, Sarah.
Right. So here's my second book, Moodtopia. And then my
Yes.
Moodtopia for Kids is a PS. So it's very fascinating because colors radiate energy. And we actually can see how our eyes change and our focus changes with different colors. So for instance, if that it suggested that if you're at an amusement park with kids, you want them in bright colors so you can find them, but the parents should be wearing more neutral, loving, simple tones that can calm kids down for with all the energy around them. So it's very fascinating. I had a woman that was going through a terrible divorce, terrible. She was very, very lost and didn't know exactly how to handle it. She was working with an attorney. So we looked up the judge online, and the judge wore vibrant red all the time. This judge was strong and powerful, and she was a lady. So I said to the woman, "You cannot wear a red because in her courtroom, she wears the red. In her discussion, because she's not always wearing the robe in family court, you need a color that complements her red. And it can make such an impact.
Mhm.
And also on gloomy days, let's say it's the middle of winter, you're living in a cold climate and you tend to wear black jackets, which are smart. Why not put on a turquoise scarf, which can bring light? If
Mhm.
a woman is going through hard times, and she just feels overwhelmed to look in the mirror wearing gray. And I love gray, it has its place, but it's going to make her energy be more in that gray, gloomy sphere. Put on your gray shirt with a cute little yellow button or
Yeah.
a little yellow scarf or yellow earrings. So I interviewed a lot of people that study color. Mind blowing. This one woman was saying in the 1960s, they were rebelling from the 1950s, which was be organized, be the perfect wife, wear the cashmere sweater. And they went the other way and went, whoa, into these psychedelic colors as a rebellion. But then in the
Yeah.
70s, it became more earth tones
Mhm.
because women started going back to university, getting their PhD. People in university wouldn't take them seriously. They were wearing, these bright, bright, bright colors. So the trend was more earth tones. So if you look at countries and you look at socioeconomic challenges, you will see that colors affect the mood. So during the Depression,
Mhm.
they had what was called Depression glass. And people started making the bowls in glass, red, turquoise. I have a brown here. I didn't know our discussion was going to go here. This is a little gloomy, but this is more similar to Depression glass. So they wanted people to feel a little more excited about their boiled potatoes and hard-boiled egg. So you can look up Depression glass and its impact emotionally. So in my book, I talk about using color to help you reach your goals and help you find the energy that you need in all the different struggles we go through.
I love that. And it's so true. Things, colors can lift the mood, can shape the psyche. It makes perfect sense. Now, you have a whole chapter that's devoted to nourishing the liver and adaptogens. For those of us, and I'm included, who are unfamiliar with this concept, help us understand the importance of this topic.
So let's talk about adaptogens. So herbs are in different categories. There's herbs that moisturize the system. There are herbs that are antiviral, antibacterial, so many different categories of herbs. And one is called an adaptogen. An adaptogen is like an herb called holy basil. It helps you during stressful times adaptogen to what's going on. So when you're working with herbs, there are certain herbs that I would give for urinary tract infections. It goes right to the bladder. Different herbs I would give towards sinus infections, right to the sinus, like yerba santa, the best for sinus infections. But an adaptogen will go where the body needs it. So some people going through stress will have heart palpitations. Some people during stress will overeat. Some people, excuse me, during stress will undereat. So the adaptogen will help balance the body during different phases in our lives. Adaptogen herbs, like there's an herb called rhodiola, studied in Russia. They give it to athletes. It's got a bit of a stimulant. So if someone's going through a phase and they feel like a couch potato, they know they need to go to the gym, they know they need to take a walk, they just can't get there. They know it in their psyche, their intellect. Taking rhodiola will give them a little bit of a boost. It's an adaptogen. It will go where it needs to and help the person achieve their goals.
I love it. That's amazing. Now, you also talk about the benefits of feng shui and creating spaces that help you feel good. Talk to us more about that,
Yeah.
Sarah.
So it's very interesting. I'm a mother of seven children. I have five boys and two
God
girls,
bless.
all my children. And my dream was always when they got older that I was going to travel. Okay. So I have this past year, I was in Japan and India, and I'm on my way to Bhutan, which is very exciting. That's outside of China. And when people design their homes, they would figure out the environment. Where does the sun rise? Where does the sun set? in the winter, where are those cold winds basically coming? And in the hot summer, where is the sun? So people used to design their homes and their huts around the environment so that certain rooms would stay cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. Okay, we most of us today don't have that ability to build our own homes. But
Hmm.
here's another feng shui thing. If your door handle is a little loose and you have to rush out in the morning with kids or just to get to work, and every time you have to move that door handle, it's like, that's going to set off your emotions. If you have the walkway from your bedroom to the bathroom with some clutter on the floor, and you're in the morning, three quarters asleep, and you're always tripping over it, we need to move that. So, Feng Shui discusses allowing and creating this environment that reduces stress. Like maybe you don't need 17 different knives in the kitchen. Maybe find the four you like because you're always, when you want to cut that cucumber. So the same thing with clothing. We love clothes. I love clothes and colors, but maybe just a couple times a year, like just donate what you're really not wearing. So when you go to look through your clothes, it's not struggling. So the point of Feng Shui is to create this environment that has less chaos in it.
I love that, Sarah. I mean, it makes such perfect sense. And I know that many of us are so busy. I mean, who am I talking to? A mother of seven kids. And you feel like, gosh, I just can't make that time to, put that into my work plan to organize and straighten up. But it can save a lot of time and pain in the long run. And I think the chapter on that is really amazing. We've got to take a quick commercial break, but we have so much more after this. So don't go away, folks. There's more Go Green Radio right after this. Welcome back to Go Green Radio, everybody. I'm so glad that you're with us. If you feel like I do after the first two segments, I want to hang out with Sara every day. I'm so glad that we met on this show, and now I just want to hang out with her. And we're going to talk about how that's possible. You had such an incredible response to your book, Moodtopia, the first book that came out. And you have now created an entire online academy for people who want more. Tell us more and take your time. Tell us more about the courses and the topics that you cover.
So, Instagram is good and the opposite of it because we have a lot of people that do weekend courses and they become aromatherapists. We have a lot of people that do, a 3-day course and they become life coaches. And they may have some good advice, but a lot of them are really not qualified. So, just to take a moment, I did an undergraduate degree, then I did graduate work in lactation. I did 2,500 clinical hours. I went back to school. I did a 5-year program in classical homeopathy with hundreds of clinical hours. And then I went back and studied herbal plant based botanical medicine for 3 years and did clinical hours. So, I think it's very important for people to find people that are well educated. And as my friends always tease me, like I'm always in school, like I'm always doing another program and another degree because there's so much to learn. So, when I developed Moodtopia Academy, I realized that people, like you said before, are overwhelmed, busy, don't even have time to clean out their closet, which I think they need to make time. All of us do. And if you want to begin to learn about aromatherapy, homeopathy, herbs, I don't sell anything but knowledge on my classes. And I interview other herbalists that are fantastically educated. An upcoming class I have is on medicinal trees, and I have a brilliant man in his 70s that lives in the woods in Canada that can tell you every tree, how it was used by Native Americans. We don't have that knowledge, but it's so interesting because I take people on weed walks around messy, polluted Brooklyn. And on every street, there's edible plants. So I want people to understand what nature, green, has given us. And that's what my classes are on. I have varicose veins, migraines, chronic ear infection, strep throat, then emotional, depression, sadness, frustration. And we once a month do an hour class on Zoom. I present for about 45 minutes and we open it up for questions. And I see with my students that A, they become empowered to make decisions. Number two is I don't want people being talked into buying all these supplements that you can't even read all the ingredients.
Mhm.
And and this supplement cures everything. No, it doesn't. If you have a sinus infection, you need this. If you have a urinary tract infection, you need this. So the school is for laymen and professionals, doctors, nurses, psychiatrists, psychologists, moms, grandmothers, secretaries, women that work at McDonald's. Anybody that wants to get a little knowledge will learn in Moodtopia Academy. It's a very small monthly fee that just covers, you know how it is, Jill, just
I
the people
do.
around you.
I do.
And it's been very successful, and people, it's really a short period of time, but what happens is what they become better consumers, which
Mhm.
is what I like also.
I love that. And in addition to the courses, you also have other ways to engage with folks that can be found on your website. And I'd love for you to give us your website. We'll put it in the video description when we put this recorded conversation on YouTube. But tell us about all of the ways that our friends can interact with you, your materials, and each other through your website.
So my website is sarachana.com. Little hard, SARACHANA.com. And I have a tab there that says free handouts. And you can go in there and you can download, put on your desktop, print it, put it on your fridge. I have like a natural first aid kit for the summer. I have combating winter blues. So you could literally every couple weeks download another one and start to gain knowledge, because knowledge is power. Also on Instagram, I have little 30-second or 45-second videos. That's at Sarachana SARACHANAS. And you can see the plants in action. Because when you come to an herbalist, you're going to get it prepackaged like this, and
Hmm.
which is great because this is a master herbalist making an herb mix. But when it comes to my patients and my students, I want them to actually see the plants. They're gorgeous, they're beautiful. So I show that on Instagram. And on my website, I also have a free class where we go in depth of the difference between herbs, aromatherapy, and homeopathy, because I don't think the average person knows the difference.
I think you're right. And I mean, I consider myself, well educated, well read. I try to learn everything I can. This is an area that I am completely a newbie. And I'm so glad to meet you and get introduced to all of the ways that you have to get people engaged and empowered with this knowledge. Now, you do herbal consultations with clients. And when you do, what is your approach? What could our friends expect if they book a consultation with you?
So there are many MDs and DOs and PhDs in my immediate family. And unfortunately, they are supposed to take about 7 minutes with each patient because our health system is a little bit in a crisis. But when you book an appointment with a master herbalist or homeopath, we take an hour and a half to 2 hours with each patient. When I sit with someone, I take their complete history from their birth through their childhood up to the age that they are. We start at the top of the body. We talk about the hair, the scalp, the eyes, the jaw, the teeth, the throat. We go down the body talking about each. We talk about sleep or lack of it, dreams. We talk about the strength they have or the weaknesses. So the only way I really can begin to suggest botanicals, I mean, I do explain them in my book, so I can have my clients empowered and knowledgeable, but it takes me a good hour and a half to 2 hours to really understand this person's strengths and weaknesses. And we go through genetics, Jill. I'll ask
Mm,
about their mother, their father, their grandparents. Sometimes my clients will be sitting there calling their aunts and their grandparents because there is a genetic predisposition towards certain conditions. Once I get that whole understanding, I come up with an herbal protocol. Then we meet 6 to 8 weeks later, depending on the condition, and we reevaluate. Is this working? Is this not working? What should we change? And after a couple sessions, you don't need your herbalist. We like you to check in once a year because we want to, see how it's going. But it is a personalized plan. And even if we have three people with chronic sinus infections, they could get three completely different protocols. So I think what people don't understand is when you give medicine or take medicine, it's herd mentality. So there's
mhm.
going to be a certain percentage of people that will not benefit from that medicine. Others will, thank God. But when it comes to herbal medicine, no matter what the label of your condition is, arthritis, osteoarthritis, we're going to give a protocol for you. First of all, compliance, Jill. Some people can't take herbs 3 times a day. Some are OCD and love to take herbs 3 times a day. So if I have someone that I know is only going to take things in the morning, I can't give them 55 things. They're never going to comply. So I have to find two herbs or one homeopathic remedy that will help satisfy the challenges of the body. So interesting. When I was in homeopathic school, I was sitting there, a mother of a bunch of little kids, and it was a European doctor who said, homeopathy works like this: the maker drops a soul in the body, and the body is simply a vessel to carry that soul to do what it needs to in the world. And if the body's in pain, it gets in the way of what the soul needs to do. So he said, you're not helping people to be skinnier, less wrinkles, look more stunning. Okay, that's a good PS. We all love that, Jill. But you're really curing the body so the soul can express itself. And it changed my outlook. And that's why it's so individual because everybody's job on this planet is completely different. Yours is go green. Yours is to help educate the world. Other people's important job is fixing my dishwasher, which, Jill, I want people to specialize in fixing my dishwasher. But we need people to do that and go green. And both their souls are going to be satisfied if they're helping the dishwashers and helping people understand green.
Absolutely. What a beautiful explanation. And I mean, I think a lot of people don't always feel like they're really listened to. Yeah, I mean, and doctors are under a lot of duress for all the reasons that we all know. Our healthcare system is tough right now. And just to be able to spend that time having someone customize, tailor design a program is just sounds like a miracle. I know right before we did this interview, you were doing a lactation consultation, and that's also something that you're well educated and specialized in. Talk to us a little bit more about some of the issues that you see frequently and how you help lactating moms overcome them.
Well, the statistics last I looked them up were less than 20% of women in the US breastfeed past 6 weeks. And every hospital you go into is breast is best, nursing, but they're not teaching it. So here's the thing: every baby's mouth has a different shape, a high palate, low palate, weak buccinator muscles, strong buccinator muscles, an overbite, an underbite. So when people come in, I analyze the baby. Some babies are born stronger, some are weaker, some are low tone, some are high tone. And then I look at the mother. People don't understand that women's shapes can be completely different and their right side can be different than their left. So when they come to me, Again, like a homeopath, I analyze. Is the woman stronger with her right arm? Is she a lefty? Is she coordinated? Is she not coordinated? And we spend again an hour and a half, and I really need 2 hours often explaining the physical of the baby, the physical of the mother. And we have, Jill, like a 99% success rate in our office. And our clients are nursing minimally 2 years. So people again need that one-on-one because what your sister did, what your cousin did may not work for you. So that's the difference with really working with a lactation consultant. The ones in the hospital are sweet, Jill, but again, it's that 6, 7 minutes. And
Yeah.
there's no way I could practice medicine like that. I can't. Everybody's an individual. You know, it's so funny. I had a woman trying to latch her baby on, and she couldn't get it. She was latching here, she was latching there, and I was really struggling. I was kind of young and dumb, and her husband was waiting outside patiently, and I went out and I said, look, your wife is beautiful and stunning and great. Do you see that she has a little bit of a coordination problem? He said, I would never let her drive. She would kill people, Sarahana. I was like, okay. So I just wanted to validate that I wasn't teaching her in the wrong way. So I went back, Jill, and I had to take a deep breath and I had to really understand that this was something she struggles with. And she was able to nurse the baby. I had to do different cues with her. I had to put her in a different position. So that's what's lacking. And
Hmm.
midwives of old knew this, Jill. They knew it
Yep.
because to deliver a baby is 50%. To keep that baby alive, there's places all over the world, Jill. They don't have clean water. They certainly don't have formula. And I can tell you, those midwives know what I know. And they spend time. And Jill, I also ask, do you get along with your husband? What are your in-laws like? What are your parents like? Because the more I understand the dynamic, what is your culture like? What is your religion like? When I understand that, I can give them a written, and it's always written, Jill, protocol, but the protocol is written for them, not just a standard form.
Yeah, I just absolutely love this whole idea of the customization and the tailor fit that you give to all of your services and your work. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but don't go away because we have more with Sarah Hanna and Go Green Radio right after this. Welcome back to Go Green Radio, everybody. We're so glad that you're with us. We have been talking about natural remedies from somebody who is so incredibly well educated. Sara, our guest today, is a master herbalist. She has spent, as she mentioned in the last segment, a lot of time being educated, not just reading about, but in school being educated to talk about and to teach others what she knows. Sorry, your career is so inspiring. And I would love for all of our friends to get to know you better on a personal level because sometimes that just helps people make an even closer connection to the content that we're talking about. How did you first get interested in herbology and natural remedies?
So I want to begin by saying that I was a gymnast as a child and I competed nationally and internationally. And I really learned the discipline of an athlete, the importance of eating well, and the difference between the right side of my body and the left side of my body, and where my strength was and where my weakness was. I can't say it was an easy journey being a tiny 5 foot tall gymnast, but it really gave me that foundation. And I also realized that the other athletes that were I was competing with had different strengths than I did. So I started to observe at a very young age the difference of body structure and strength. Then when I gave birth, um, my first child struggled quite a bit with asthma and eczema, and I had studied herbal medicine. I went to Oxford University to study Shakespeare and Chekhov, and I
Mm,
ended up in the library studying botanical plant-based medicine. But when he started having these struggles, I went to my doctor and they gave antihistamines and they gave steroids and all these medications, which just didn't help enough. I mean, certainly in an emergency asthma attack, no question, asthma medicine is a lifesaver, but he wasn't getting better. And I was very afraid to start with plant-based medicine. I mean, if I was using it, sure. If I was understanding it, sure. But to give it to a child, and I was so pleasantly surprised at the results I was getting that I said, oh my gosh, I've got to go back and study this properly. Because just opening a book is a good beginning, but I needed to know more in depth. So I started studying, and then I became a lactation consultant, which was many, many years of training. And again, steroids, antibiotics, which have their place. I always say if you get a root canal, please go to a dentist and take that antibiotic. So we're not against in our office at all, Jill, and I think this is very important, conventional medicine where it works, but it doesn't work with chronic ear infections. It doesn't work with chronic strep throat. Like people will call me and say, "Oh, my kid gets strep once a year." I go, "Well, what do you do?" They're like, "I give an antibiotic and they get better." I'm like, "Sure, great, perfect." But kids come to me, Jill, that have had 10, 15 strep throats in a row. So that's why I went back and studied it because I would tell my lactation clients, I'm here for you. If your kid gets an ear infection, go diagnose it at the doctor because we use both. But if you want to treat it naturally, we have it. So that's how I started. I started my kids feel so bad for them. They were my guinea pigs at first. Poor kids. They, got the herbs and the homeopathy and essential oils. But what really astounded me was when I expanded and helped other women's kids, and they just felt so strong, Jill. They felt
Hmm.
powerful. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and your kid wakes up screaming. I mean, now we have these acute centers on, corners all over big cities. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, my clients now have a little repertoire of things to give to calm the child down, help with the pain, and then of course go in the morning and get a strep test and an check the ears. But it just empowers people to travel. What about you're at a park July 4th weekend and your kid scrapes their knees. So you're going to get your water bottle and clean off the wound, but maybe you didn't bring antibiotic cream. Maybe you even forgot to bring a band-aid. So there's a plant that grows on the ground called plantain, and it's a leaf. It's called the green band-aid. You can pick that leaf up, wash it a little with your water bottle, crunch it, put it over the knee. It's got antibacterial properties and it will help that wound. And kids love it. They love to see their parents pick up a leaf, crunch it, and put it over their knee, and they can hold it and they feel better. And that is empowering, Jill.
It is. It is. And it's so impressive. And speaking of impressive, I mean, you have really built an impressive enterprise. It's always interesting to hear entrepreneurs talk about what it takes to turn your expertise into a business. So, besides being an expert in your field, you have to know a lot about marketing and running the business side of the house. How do you manage all that?
I have a lot of help, Jill.
Mm. Good.
And I think
I'm
it's
glad.
It's really important. I take classes on business because I, by nature, Jill, would give everything away for free. And
Hmm.
I just say, take this herb, take this dropper. And my daughter, who works with me in the office, she's a partner. She's like, Ma, really nice, but you just bought that. Do you know what I mean? So I struggled with the business end of it, of course. But again, I had to learn. I take classes all the time. I have a mentor that I go to because the only way people are going to feel good in my office is if it's cleaned every day.
Yeah.
The couches are clean. I burn essential oils. The floor is clean. They can put their child, if they come with a newborn and a toddler, they can crawl on my floor. It's clean. Everything's organized. The herbs are labeled for all the patients. So, like you said, it is a business, and we do follow-up calls to make sure that they're okay. We have a wait list because it takes a while to get an appointment with me. So, like you said, it does take a very good business sense to keep things running smoothly, and that's always my goal. I have things that are printed, they get handouts, and they walk away with a lot of good information, which takes the staff to organize.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things that we always try to do on Go Green Radio is that when we have somebody who's super impressive, as you are on the show, we want our friends and our listeners to come away with more than just the information of the day. We want them to come away with some personal takeaways that if they say, I want to be like Sarah, what's the secret sauce? How can I do what she's done? That we leave them with some inspiration and some guiding steps. And, I'm a mom of three adults, you're a mom of seven, and that's incredible. I have no concept of how you could still be so beautiful and perky and energetic and amazing after seven kids. You're incredible. But I'd love to know, what do they think about your work and what advice do you give them about their own careers based on your experience?
Well, I think the most important thing for the listeners is to become a master at whatever you do. And, I was recently in Japan, Jill, and I must go back because the first time I went, I was, just a tourist. But I remember when I bought a little piece of pottery, which was stunning, stunning. I have chills because the man that packed it up took the paper and folded it in the most gorgeous way. First, it was safe to travel with, but when I got back to the States, I didn't even want to take the pottery out because he presented it. He became a master. When you look at the gardens in Japan, even the people that are sweeping the gardens take it so seriously, Jill. So I feel that no matter what career or business a person's in, we have the competition and the looking gorgeous and the making more money. Where's the skill of the mastery? And when you walk around Brooklyn and you look at the architecture, you see that someone stood and hand carved these beautiful things outside the buildings. So I think the most important message I got first as a gymnast was to be the master, know everything you can, and always be a student.
I
Even if you're
love
the
that.
master of something, there's always someone else that knows more. So I think, and I've really trained my kids to continuously learn, explore, and know more about what you think you know a lot of.
You are a treasure. Beautifully said. And that's great advice to all of our friends who are watching this conversation. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being on our show. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in every week. We'll be here same time, same place with more Go Green Radio. Until then, have a wonderful week and do something in your life to go green.